This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being recorded, and also note it is the city's policy to require masks during all public meetings in City Hall, regardless of vaccination status. I would also like to remind everyone to try and keep themselves muted when they're not talking so that we minimize the background noise. Thank you. Deputy Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Mayor Brummel?
Here.
Alderman Anderson?
Here.
Alderman Ashour?
Here.
Alderman Berry?
Here.
Alderman Davalos?
Here.
Alderman Goodman?
Here.
Alderman Krischel?
Here.
Alderman Widener? Alderman Widener?
Don't see him. Perhaps he's late.
Alderman Wilson?
Here.
Okay, and staff? City Administrator Coakley?
Here.
Assistant City Administrator White?
Here.
Finance Director Dahlstrom?
Here.
Police Chief Toronto?
Here.
Treasurer Behrens? Clerk Larson? And Deputy Clerk Gravetti here. You have a quorum.
Alderman Widener's here.
Thank you. Just in time.
Thank you. Also, it's Clerk Clark, not Clerk Larson. I know, we're all still adjusting.
Old list, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Now's the time we set aside for saying the Pledge of Allegiance. For those of you at home, please say it silently to yourself. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now's the time we set aside for public comments. We will now hear any verbal or written comments from the public. If there's anyone on the line who wishes to speak, please announce yourself slowly and clearly with your name and address. And if we have everyone wishing to speak having announced themselves, I will call on you one by one to proceed with your comments. Okay, seeing none, do we have any email comments?
I did not receive any emails today, Madam Chairman.
Okay, is anyone present in City Hall who wishes to speak?
There is not.
Okay, once we conclude citizen comments, there will not be another opportunity for the public to comment. But we will move on to officials and staff comments, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a bit of sad news this evening. Longtime Plan Commission Chair and member John O. Davis passed away today. John spent over 40 years contributing to his community on the Plan Commission, an incalculable benefit to us. Not only that, he was a wonderful person. So we're very sad for his passing, and we hope to cherish the good memories that he's left us and look around the community and see all the wonderful things that he helped to accomplish through those long meetings late into the night years ago. Again, a tremendous contribution to the community, and our sympathy goes out to Sally and to John's family. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Alderman Anderson.
No comments tonight.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour.
I'm sorry to hear about the bad news. John has given a lot to the city and done a lot of hard work for us and helped to make the community what it is. And I'm so sorry to hear that. My condolences to his family and friends.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Yes, I am also very saddened by the passing of John Davis. I was on the Plan Commission for only 2 years, and he was a great help to me And then even in the years after, as an alderman, he was also a tremendous help. In when he was behind something, he was truly behind something. And if he knew that there was going to be maybe, not the best acceptance by the city, or I should say, by the citizens about a project, he would always come forward and to the city council meetings and speak his mind and tell everyone why the plan commission went forward with this proposal. And he just is just going to be so missed. And I'm sure that he counseled all the plan commission members just like he counseled me. So I'm very sorry, and just prayers for John and for his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos?
Yes, I'm going to build on what's already been said, but I have a lot of good memories of John Davis, and sometimes I attended Plan Commission meetings just to hear his comments on a project and just to learn from him. And he would answer lots of questions. I would go up after and he would talk to me and explain things, and I just learned so much from John. And while I haven't been here all the 40 years, I know from discussions and people talking that so much of Warrenville, a lot of Warrenville looks like it does, and it has the quality that it has. And that's due to a lot of people contributing, but one of those people was John Davis. And from Cantera forward, he was right there. And he guided us when we were just kind of beginning to figure this Cantera thing out, and went forward. And I will just miss his friendly face and his friendly comments and the way that he dealt with conflict, as Alderman Barry said. And he will be greatly missed. Thank you.
Thank you. The passing of John Davis is a personal loss for me, but I think it's also a public loss for our community. The things that he has done over his almost 40 and a half years on the Plan Commission in Warrenville have shaped our community immeasurably. I spent 6 years as his colleague on the Plan Commission, and the 10 years since then, I've considered him a personal friend. He has supported me in my work on the city council, and I have been honored to be his friend and to have his confidence and support. And this is a sad day. So my condolences to Sally and to the rest of the family. And I hope that we all take a little time to remember our positive memories of John today. Thank you very much. Alderman Krischel.
I have nothing else to add tonight. Thank you.
Alderman Widener.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Bill, we can hear you.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me?
Very, very sad news about John. He volunteered with the city for as long as he could, and we appreciate all his good work and his leadership as chair of the Plan Commission for all those years. Rest in peace, John, and peace to his family and all his friends. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson. Alderman Wilson. I see you muting and unmuting yourself. Right now you're muted, Bob. Alderman
I'm sorry.
Wilson.
I'd just like to Give condolences to his family, and may he rest in peace. Amen.
Thank you, Bob. We'll start the business of the meeting next. And the first item on our agenda is an informational update by the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau Executive Director Beth Marchetti. City Administrator Coakley, are you going to announce this one?
Yes, thank you. And just one quick comment, clarification on the policy that was readopted last Monday by the City Council regarding COVID mitigation policies. There is an exception that's allowed through the state and through our new policy that was just adopted, that if you are sitting in the building, now all of you at home are of course exempt from all of this, and maintain at least 6 foot of distance, you may remove your mask during the meeting. We have set it up so that the room has plenty of social distancing. Everyone is sitting far apart. In fact, there's only even 2 of us at the dais tonight. And even the podium, if somebody is up there speaking, would be separated enough to allow that consistent distance. So it's a temporary removal. When you're moving around or not being able to separate, you must wear the mask. Just without any other comment on that, Beth is here, Beth Marchetti from the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau, wanted to give us a little update on what's going on. Not too much has happened in the last year and a half, right? That's sarcasm. It's been a crazy year for everybody, especially for the travel and tourism industry. I'll let Beth go. She's going to give us a few comments and some information. And then, of course, if there's questions and comments, she'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity this evening. I think I know most of you. Beth Marchetti, Executive Director. I've had the privilege of representing the communities of DuPage County, including the city of Warrenville, for 21 years, and as Executive Director for the past 8. So I'm going to get started. Hopefully this will work. You can all see my screen, I'm assuming. So far, so good. I just need a little yes, if someone could give me that. Sorry.
We can see it, Beth. You're fine.
Okay, perfect. I'm used to a couple other programs besides GoToMeeting. So again, thank you for the opportunity tonight. So without a doubt, our industry has been hit. There's so many people that could say the industry has been hit harder than others, but there was an article in Crain's at the beginning of September that said Illinois hotels, we saw our revenue fall by $2.4 billion. And in fact, we rank almost to the very, very bottom. Only worse off is Massachusetts, New York, Wyoming, and the District of Columbia. So yeah, we're our hotels have really taken it on the chin. You know, fortunate for DuPage County, we've got a lot of residents that help step up and really help their restaurants with takeout and curbside service. But there's a plan to get us back on the road to recovery, and we thought we were seeing a little bit of it. And then lo and behold, here comes the next variant. So I'm going to go through quickly, but one of the things that we think could be an opportunity for us is American Rescue Plan dollars. So we are spelled out in that American Rescue Plan as a hard hit impacted industry. So tourism, travel, and hospitality. So it's not without a surprise, 1 in 10 American jobs are supported by travel, and leisure and hospitality is the largest small business employer. To that end, we have been asking the county to consider an ask for us as the county bureau to use some of the ARPA dollars, not only to help with health and safety, but for economic well-being and to really help jumpstart the economy in DuPage County. I always say that tourism is the first gate to economic development, and no one moves their business here until they've visited first. So we really need travel and tourism to come back. When I say tourism, it's a little bit of a misnomer to some people. DuPage County, much like Chicago, really relies on the business traveler and meetings. And so We need to get that back. We think that's going to be one of the slower industries to come back, but you are seeing some positive things happen in Warrenville, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But I do want to thank Administrator Coakley, who had a meeting with me, as well as Kevin, to talk about what we can do to help our hotel industry, really jumpstart. Why it's important. We want Chicago to rebound, but more importantly, the Chicago suburban area makes up a significant amount of hotel rooms. So you can see from my graph here, 26% of the hotels in the entire state of Illinois are in the city of Chicago, but 44% come from the suburban market. So again, while we do need Chicago to really rebound, we also need the suburban area to really start to jumpstart. To that end, Mayor Lightfoot and the 7 collar counties, including Chairman Cronin, had asked 3 subcommittees to get started on a recovery program that included tourism, economic development, and workforce development. And I'm pleased to announce that the tourism program got started well before all the other 2 committees, because we had been very used to working together. Visitors travel by interest. So if you're interested in Frank Lloyd Wright in Oak Park, you're probably going to be interested in Mies van der Rohe in Elmhurst, and then you'll probably be interested in the Farnsworth House, et cetera, et cetera. So we launched a campaign, The Only Thing Missing Is You. It ran May 3rd through September 6th. We were actually able to hit, even before the state of Illinois launched their campaign. And Warrenville was very much a part of this because of all the great forest preserves, trails, and different things that you could do safely and effectively. So this was a sample of the map and just some samples of our own individual promotions there. I'd like to take just a minute to talk about Frida Kahlo, and I hope that most of you got to see the exhibit. There were several articles that I was quoted in the local newspapers and online. Just even in the thick of COVID, we were able to sell over 100,000 tickets. It supported 3,202 jobs. We did 1.5 million in retail. We did 1.26 million in food and beverage. And more importantly, we did $1.8 million in hotel revenues. So we definitely saw an uptick in some of our summer occupancy rates and our revenue per available room, and then also average daily rate. So that was all really positive things, and we need more events, attractions like this to help us bring some things back. It will be first residents and more locals, and then eventually we will be able to see some recovery in overnight stays. So one huge sport event that we've been working on for the past 3 years that we think will impact, we know will impact Warrenville hotels, is USA Cycling's Cyclocross. So several Warrenville hotels are part of this room block. This is an event that will be held at Cantini. They were willing to actually reconfigure their grounds and build a course that is mud, that is water, that is cold, and it will be happening in December of this year. We have a little bit of a video here to show you, but what I'm really here today to ask for your support is because you're, right down the street from Cantini. There's opportunities for spectators to join us in a healthy and safe fashion because it is an outside event. We're looking for volunteers, and I know this community is really about cycling and utilizing those amenities that we have in DuPage County. So I've talked to Alderman Widener about this event, and I'll let him have any comments toward the end of the presentation on this as well. So just to give you a little sampling of what this event looks like. Oh, hold on. There we go. Let's make sure my my slides advance here. There we go. So the best way to describe this event is a cross between road cycling, mountain biking, and a steeplechase. The reason I bring it up is because I think there's millions of dollars of economic impact for this event. There's 1,800 riders that will be in this event. It's kind of the Ryder Cup, since we just saw that golf tournament last weekend. It's Tuesday through Sunday, and the elite riders will be on Saturday and Sunday. Cantini and the USA Cycling out of Colorado Springs are expecting 10,000 people per day. So obviously we're really getting geared up to do offsite parking at the county building, provide transportation over from wristbands to COVID porta potties, you name it. Our organization has been working hard at this. So I hope everyone can come out and really enjoy the excitement. And if you'll notice, those dollar bills that were on the course, those are mine. That's my salary this year. So there's another big event that's going to be going on at Cantini, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention it, that it's kind of a carry-on of the Frida Kahlo excitement that we had, and although I can't really get into specifics of it, as we're going to announce it in conjunction with Cantini in the next coming weeks, it has another wonderful opportunity for the city of Warrenville. So really wanted to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully in your packet, I don't think I can pull it up on my screen, but I did provide the Smith travel report. And I know Mayor Brummel, we do talk about this at our board, our DuPage CBB board meeting. Without getting into too much minutia, it's a comparison of May of 2020 with May 2019. And as you can guess, 2019 we were at 79.4% occupancy. Again, 79.4% occupancy in the city of Warrenville. In 2020, we were at 24.3. It's a significant hit. In my next piece of paper in your packet, we did bounce back this year. Warrenville enjoyed a 66.7% occupancy, which obviously wasn't back to full throttle, but it was a significant improvement. But then I also included August in my report in my packet. August is sometimes a little bit lower than the summer months, but we did see 62.5%. So you were well above the DuPage County average. But you know, schools go back in session, and so we do see a little bit of a dip. But my concern is the variant also took a little bit of dip in that, and we're still not, again, seeing that transient business traveler coming back, nor the group business coming back. So we're going to keep an eye closely on those numbers, which brings us to why one of the reasons why I'm here tonight. I want to thank the alders and the staff and mayor for really standing behind your hotels and really trying to create an investment to help them along. I did put together a packet of some thoughts if Warrenville wanted to put in a $30,000 investment in marketing. Marketing is definitely an eligible expense as per the ARPA guidelines. So I did put in here just some suggestions. It's a draft. What I'm suggesting is we meet with the hotels at our next hotel meeting and see where their high need is. But one of the things that we found tremendous success is having video of each of the properties so that people can see that without having to go in and do it in a safe fashion. So there's a chance for actual video. There's also something that I showed the gentleman on this call, John and Kevin, what's called, it's not really a video, but it's kind of like what you would see with realtors when they're showing their homes for sale. It goes into the different rooms. It can showcase the different meeting rooms and what the lobby looks like, so that when people are thinking about booking or blocking hotel rooms, they can actually see those. And not all the hotels have that. I also suggest some digital and print ads. There's some co-op opportunities with the Illinois Office of Tourism on Expedia and Travelocity, which we will be able to really give you a return on investment strategy on that, because Expedia puts pixels on the websites and then can actually come back and tell me exactly how many people converted to booking those rooms. As you may know, the ARPA money is coming in 2 tranches from at least the county's perspective. So my suggestion is we look at that first tranche as marketing, and then the second tranche, I'm suggesting, if we still have some dollars left, to look at COVID-related expenses that the hotels incurred. Some of those things that I know are eligible would be technology for hybrid small meetings. So a lot of the hotels had, or even the banquet facilities or attractions like Main Event, had to let go of their contracted AV provider that usually lived inside their venue. So that could be one area. Transportation. Several of our hotels that I know have had to sell off their shuttles. So a lot of times, if we can help with, a third-party contractor with, say, like Windy City Limousine or shuttles, we can help with that. We would really, again, have to talk to the hotels and see precisely what they're lacking. But I do want to let you know that there are several other communities that are looking at investing their ARPA dollars into programs like this. One of them is actually trying to help with security. We all know some of the devastating problems that we've had in our hotels with security. In all reality, there's one person working that front desk at night. And so whatever we need to do to help with security, I think is an expense that would be well utilized by the properties. I really wanted to be fairly quick. I thank you for the opportunity, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and be available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Beth. Let's go through the aldermen and see if there are questions or comments, starting with Alderman Anderson.
Thank you, Ms. Marchetti. One question: as you guys look across the country, some areas are further on the COVID curve than we are. Are those areas seeing a rebound of business travel, or is it still pretty quiet across the country?
Great question. So everything that we do is based on research and data. Obviously, the coastal cities, mountains, those communities that have those natural amenities did better. People vacation there. I will tell you, it's hard to compete with Indianapolis when I just saw an ad that came on my computer today that said we don't require masks. So it's hard to work with a meeting planner and say, well, we do when you're inside, and they're not. I do think that will be the slowest area to come back. Like I said, and all research is showing us, and this is a hit to my heart, but 2024 might be that year before we actually see a comeback. So that's why we really focused on leisure. We focused on outdoor safe spaces, sports marketing, sports, because we know people will still put their child in soccer camps, and we have opportunities to have bigger sports events here. Weddings are going gangbusters, but we're only busy on the weekends. And then family reunions and military reunions were really strong. So you're absolutely right. It is hard. We were probably the most locked down of most states, but we've had 2 in-person trade shows, and my team, so we have a marketing team and a sales team, and our sales folks came back with 43 leads. People are wanting to meet again. One of our board members, who I think Mayor Brummel knows, works for Inland Real Estate. They had a conference downtown with 1,000 people last Friday night, and it went off without a hitch. So they are happening, whether, you know, we all taking all precautions and paying attention to what the DuPage County Health Department and the state and the CDC are saying for us to keep healthy, but people are wanting to meet in person. So I hope that answered the question, but it was a long answer, but I think I'm hearing from some physician friends that we're hoping to have the younger kids vaccinated soon. I think that will help. I'm not an expert. I'm going to say follow the science. And we certainly, you know, we have to do what we have to do and want to be safe about it. But we hope that smaller meetings and meetings that can be social distance continue to thrive.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, Alderman Ashour.
I just like to say I appreciate what you're trying to do, and the events that you're suggesting are just fun. The advertising to them should be fun. I support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Berry.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Davlos.
Yes, thank you very much. It's good to get this information to see what the comeback, the return is going to look like. I appreciate your efforts. I agree with Alderman Ashour that it looks like some fun things are happening, and that gives us all a sense of hope. So thank you very much.
Thank you. My only comment is that Beth is also here to speak a little bit on item 2. You'll see a recommendation from our long-range financial planning work group with respect to that $30,000 marketing campaign that she just described. So if there are questions on that, we will get to that in a minute. Moving on to Alderman Grisham.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Widener.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the great presentation. It's fantastic to know that Cantini, with their beautiful grounds, is opening themselves up to such an event. And I think it'll be really fun and exciting. I encourage anybody to go and see the event. It's where grown men and women turn into 10-year-olds again. It's really a lot. Really, they really have a lot of fun out there, and the spectators likewise. So I wish you success on that event. I was going to ask whether or not you'll be in communication with any of the Warrenville restaurants. I'm sure a lot of the participants will be staying at area hotels, but our restaurants would, I'm sure, be anxious to host some of the participants after they wash their equipment off and after they get cleaned up. They probably have hearty appetites that some of our restaurants could satisfy. So I hope we're in communication with them.
Absolutely, if I could address that. So part of the, when you do the bid packet, you have to have hoses that don't freeze for the athletes to spray themselves off and their bicycles. I mean, this is quite an endeavor. And to several other comments, we had to make this determination. We had made this commitment several years ago, which included a bid fee, but it's also tremendous staff time, and then marketing dollars and some other things that are associated with this. So I really appreciated the comment about hope. I think we had to kind of, despite COVID, just take a leap of faith and say, we're going to do this. And if we can't, we can't. And we got to keep planning forward, and we got to keep living life. And we called several of our board members and village managers and city administrators and mayors and said, what do you think? And they all said, without a doubt, we need to keep moving forward. So that's what we did. As far as restaurants, Alderman Widener, we have a fabulous new tool that's a digital tool that you plug in some information and Google serves up all the restaurants that are in the area, and we literally can hand that off to spectators, hotel guests, that kind of thing. We also have an app, so everything's digital, where we can serve up restaurants that are in the area. One of the things that was really interesting for us with the Frida Kahlo exhibit was, even though people were buying tickets to Frida, they still spent $600,000 going to the Morton Arboretum or going to other things in the area. So without a doubt, we will be working with our local partners and our restaurants, hotels, other museums in the area to make sure that we're maximizing economic impact as possible. Thank you.
Great. This is just fantastic because it will be an event that occurs at a time of year that's traditionally kind of slow for the hotel industry. So thank you for bringing it to our area, and we look forward to being involved. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
I have no further comments other than thank you very much. It was a very good presentation indicating where we are and where we might be. We all need to work together to get back to where we wish to be. So thank you again for the presentation. It was very well received.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is an informational only item, so no motion.
Madam Chairman, could I make a comment, please?
Please.
Beth, it's good to see you. Having been on the board of directors for, I guess, about 10 years now, I really appreciate what, I know. I really appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. You and your staff are incredibly busy doing difficult work that's very specialized. I really appreciate the fact that you've recognized the need to pivot, that we can't depend on business travelers as much as we used to, at least temporarily. And we need to get into other things that occupy people and get them to come and stay in our town, in our region. So well done. Again, I do know how much you put into this, and it's very much appreciated. You do a great job, and the results are obviously coming in. Finally, we're starting to rebound. How long it will take, of course, is anybody's guess, but we're on the right track. So good job, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and appreciate your service. And I also want to recognize Alderman Widener, who also served on our board. So how many years ago? I must have been a baby when that started, but it is very boots on the ground. I mean, we're going to be out in the mud and the cold. And so thank you for that.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll move along to item number 2 now. And this item is the consideration of the long-range financial planning work group recommendations on the allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act funding. One note, as Finance Director Dahlstrand leads into this, as you saw in, I think it was the 3rd slide that Beth presented, supporting the local travel industry and hard-hit industries that have been affected by the pandemic is one of the allowed uses for the ARPA funding. I don't think that made it into the list in our memo. So that is our mistake, but it is definitely one of the eligible uses for this funding. So with that, I will hand it over to Kevin.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the memo indicates, the city of Warrenville will receive $1,790,000 over the next 2 years in American Rescue Plan Act funding. The long-range financial planning work group met and discussed for quite a while the recommendation you have before you tonight. It includes $30,000 to aid in tourism recovery, as we just mentioned a moment ago. It also recommends the use of $180,000 to replace lost hotel tax fund revenue. We also included $15,000 in funding recommended to go to the DuPage Senior Citizens Council. That would be to help the highly affected group. As we know, seniors were hit particularly hard by this, and this will provide the Senior Citizens Council with some additional funding to help local residents. And then the final piece, and the largest piece at this point, was a little over $670,000 that we're recommending go into sewer capital projects in the water and sewer fund. It will help with the I&I expenses, as well as help to offset future rate increases. We also provided a recommendation for fiscal 2023 as well. Right now, that's only an example of what we might recommend at this point. We will revisit that again in the budget process, and maybe refine a bit of that if we determine that there are other needs that would be better met by that funding.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Let's go through the aldermen to see if there are comments and questions. Alderman Anderson.
Yeah, Kevin, that last comment confused me a little bit. So are we improving those 3 areas, or is what you're saying is we're going to park it in the sewer maintenance if we decide to use it there, but that may be revisited in the budget cycle?
So what I was attempting to say is that you have two columns of recommendations there, one for fiscal 2022 and one for fiscal 2023. And what we will do would be incorporate that into the water and sewer fund to help offset costs in that fund now, which in turn then would help us be able to offset some of the future rate increases as well, as we lessen the expenses within that fund by offsetting with this ARPA money funding. So it'll allow in longer term us to have lower projected rate increases going forward.
Okay. No further questions.
Yes, and maybe this is just what I think you were asking, Alderman Anderson, but the second column is not what we're voting on now. The fiscal year 2023 recommendations will be revisited during the budget cycle and at future times. So I think that might be what.
Yep.
Yes.
I read that incorrectly. Thanks.
Alderman Ashour.
The things that are being proposed seem to make a lot of sense as long as they meet the criteria that we have to meet to use the money. I think it'll be a big help, in particular with the sewer and water infiltration issues that we're having now and the expense associated with them. So I think it's a good use of the money.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Yes, I agree with the $30,000 for the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau. I think that's important. We have to get those hotels back on their feet And I think marketing is the way to do that. I also appreciate the $180,000 that's going to go back into the lost revenue into the hotel tax fund itself. And then it's always a concern about senior citizens, and hopefully this $15,000 will help. And I do really appreciate the money going back into the water and sewer fund. And I know that I&I project costs get a little crazy, and this will definitely help with that. So I agree with all of these things that are happening with the first part of this money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman Davalos.
Thank you. Yes, I basically agree too. I just wanted to have you comment, Finance Director, on any discussion that maybe happened about the CMRP. Now, I know the hotel motel tax, some of that feeds in, so in a way they're related, but that would also be under the criteria of replacing lost revenue. So was there any thought about giving any money into the CMRP? We've had so many discussions about the CMRP. I just wondered how that was discerned.
So we did have some discussion about the CMRP. We felt that there were a number of sources within that fund that will help that fund recover. You know, you have your local motor fuel tax will play into there as well, and that's been on the rise for us recently. So the CMRP has more sources where, like, if you look at the hotel tax fund, it really only has the one source. And so the fact that it did have alternatives to help fill that bucket back up seemed like the better way to focus that money into a fund that does not have alternative revenue sources in it. So the CMRP was discussed, but not to a great degree at this point because of the other funding that goes into there.
Okay, so you didn't consider maybe giving not as much to the water and sewer, but a little bit more to CMRP, obviously. I mean, the potential issues with the water and sewer are so gigantic. I get it. I just wondered if, I wouldn't want to take anything out of hotel motel tax. I just wonder if you guys talked about maybe not giving quite as much to water and sewer and more to CMRP. But I think you just explained it, that you said there were more revenue sources. So for this year, that's fine. So thank you for that explanation.
And I think we also thought there was a larger effect by having to go into the water and sewer fund, where it would affect more people directly by the offset of the rates in the future.
Actually, that's also gigantic. So thank you very much for that explanation.
Thank you. My own comments on this are somewhat in line with Kevin's recent explanation. I was on the committee, and when we were discussing how we wanted to split this up, I was the first with my hand up saying I think 3/4 of the money should go into the water and sewer fund. And that's sort of what we started with. And let me explain my thinking, and I think that the committee's thinking on that a little bit more. This is a unique opportunity to provide outside funding into an enterprise fund. I know that this isn't something that some of the new council members will have dealt with very much, but an enterprise fund is different than any of the other city funds. It's required by law to be run a bit like a business. The money that comes in is the money that goes out. We can't raise taxes on, you know, the movie theater or restaurants and put that money into the water and sewer fund, or raise water rates and put that money into new roads and sidewalks. You know, it's sort of a column by itself in our books. Water rates pay for the water infrastructure. And so finding a source of outside funding like the rescue plan funds, which can legally be put into an enterprise fund like our water and sewer fund, happens rarely. There have been properly used TIF money in the past that's been applied towards water and sewer infrastructure in TIF districts. So I suppose that's one exception to that general framework. But because of our very significant and imminent financing needs for water and sewer infrastructure, and because of this sort of one-time opportunity, which specifically calls out water and sewer infrastructure as one of the things that we can use this money for, this had to be the top of our list and the highest priority of most of the funds, in my opinion. The other money that's going into the hotel motel fund can be moved around much more at the council's discretion. If we wanted to spend some of that money by transferring it to the CMRP, as we always do annually, we can, or to the general fund for other purposes. We have a lot more flexibility with money in and out of the hotel fund like that, or money in and out of the CMRP in ways that we don't with the enterprise fund. So I don't know if that makes it a little bit more clear why the group decided to structure the money this way, but that's a large part of my thinking. Obviously, helping impacted industries with our investments with the DCVB and the Senior Citizens Council seemed like a really important part of this funding. So I hope the council will support our recommendation. Let's go on to Alderman Kerschel.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with these allocations. I think that, as already mentioned, you know, these make sense to me, and I support this.
Thank you. Alderman Weidner.
Yes, thank you. I just have a question about the $15,000 to the DuPage Senior Citizen Council. Is that to provide funding for transportation amendments, or where specifically will that amount of funds go?
I don't know that we have a specific use other than we know that we wanted to serve Warrenville residents. We would be meeting with the DuPage Senior Citizen Council and help them as they determine the best use for that additional funding. As you're aware, we do provide them funding annually now, and this would be additional funding that we would like to see go to them to help Warrenville seniors. So I don't know that there's a specific use yet intended for that, but we will certainly meet with them to discuss that.
Okay, so there's been no request made, and there's no, I guess, I'm sure there's need for this money. I just wonder what those needs are and whether it was requested and whether it's above and beyond what we generally earmark for that group.
I mean, I can weigh in on that a little bit. We do give them $15,000 a year now, and what we've heard is that the need approximately doubled during the pandemic, that they had about twice as many people coming to them for services. So the thought was to double the money this year and see how that went.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry if I cut you off, Finance Director Dahlstrom.
No, I was going to say about what you said right there. So thank you very much.
Alderman Wilson.
Well, I just want to let everybody know it was a lot of discussion, and we spent a lot of time on each one of these items. And Alderman Goodman pretty much told you where we were and why the decisions were made. We could have made a whole lot of different changes, but after looking at everything as deeply as we could and with the understanding of what we had and what we could work with, and these were decisions that we made, and we looked at this very, very seriously, and all of us had an awful lot of input to this. And I couldn't agree more that I think of what we're suggesting here is the best use of that funds that we're going to have available. And that I hope that everybody agrees that what we're proposing is the best thing we can do for the city of Warrenville.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Madam Chairman, quick comment.
Please, Mayor.
I want to thank the Long Range Financial Planning Work Group. I know that a lot of thought went into this. I know you looked at a lot of alternatives. I think one of the best things we've done recently is forming this group, and I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into the decisions. I see the result. I agree with it, as do the other aldermen. It all makes sense to me. So I would just say a job well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would entertain a motion.
This is Alderman Barry. I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation for from the Long Range Financial Planning Work Group and authorize use of the first tranche of the American Rescue Plan Act funding during FY 2022 as follows. One, $30,000 to hotel and travel business recovery through the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau. Two, $180,000 to the hotel tax fund to replace lost revenue. Three, $15,000 to the DuPage Senior Citizens Council to provide additional funding to serve Warrenville seniors. And four, $670,464.51 to the Water and Sewer Fund to fund water and sewer infrastructure projects from the ongoing inflow and infrastructure project cost and reduce future rate increases.
Second Alderman.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Did you get that, clerk?
Second from Alderman Ashour.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Let's have a roll call, please.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Krischel.
Aye.
Alderman Barry.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're moving on to item number 3, presentation on the body worn cameras.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm
Thank you.
going to have Sergeant Maxwell step up to the podium, and in a moment, he'll give you the nuts and bolts of the camera program and how the camera operates. He's one of our in-house trainers who is training our officers. I'm glad to say that we went live today on our day shift with the first use of the cameras, and as you can see, Sergeant Maxwell has one on his uniform. But in any event, a quick recap: in the 2022 budget, we submitted this decision package over a 5-year cost of $209,538.72 for the use of the cameras with Axon. This included maintenance on the cameras, replacement of the cameras every 2.5 years, all of the storage and redaction equipment, and the cloud storage. So we put them into use today, and this is something that has been mandated by the Law Enforcement Officer Body Worn Camera Act, which is in the Illinois compiled statutes. We had until January 2025, but even before the mandate through legislation, I think that this was a good idea to demonstrate the transparency of the city and our police department, and also to serve as a protective feature for our officers, making it much easier to investigate any type of complaints that may arise and to ensure that we have an accurate record of what's happening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Maxwell, and he'll be stepping up to the podium, and we'll entertain any questions you may have.
There's no sound coming through.
There's no sound.
Yes, I apologize for the delay in the sound. There was a short PowerPoint presentation that was supposed to accompany the information here tonight, so I'm trying to pull that up. It provides a visual reference for the equipment that we started using today, as the chief mentioned earlier. Just give me just one moment, please. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for not having the PowerPoint presentation with me today. But as I stated earlier, it would have been very brief in nature. The operation of our body-worn cameras are incredibly simplistic. We received training from Axon not too long ago. The training consisted of two parts. There's the end user, which is the officers, and then there's the administrative functions, which is myself and a few other supervisors in our department. So the end user obligations are incredibly simple. The operation of the body cameras are incredibly simple. I just want to point out a few things that generally are not known to the public about the operation of the cameras, and more importantly, where some of their functions are limited. The body cameras that we use, which I'm wearing here today, I'm not sure if you can see it, have a 12-hour battery life, which is incredibly helpful because on patrol we work 12-hour shifts. They film in 720 high definition. They are capable of filming in a higher capacity, 1280, but the issue with that is the batteries will not last a full 12-hour shift if we choose to operate them at a 1280 capacity. They have a 146-degree diagonal field of view. That's incredibly important to take note of because it's very similar to what a doorbell camera would capture. So it's important to know that because depending on the perspective or the direction that the officer is facing, the cameras are not all encompassing. They're not going to capture everything the officer necessarily sees. They're only going to capture where the camera itself is pointed. We have embedded GPS into the body cameras, which is incredibly helpful for two different reasons. One, if the camera ever comes detached from the officer's vest, we can retrieve it a lot easier. But more importantly, if there's ever a situation where the officer needs to be located, we have that option. And now I have a presentation on here, which I can kind of go on, which might help a little bit. PDF, okay, sure, that's perfect. Okay, so as the chief mentioned earlier, we do have a statutory obligation to wear a body cameras. And that legislation depends on the size of your population of your municipality or your county. Warrenville falls within the smallest municipality of under 50,000 individuals. So we actually have until January 1st, 2025 to implement the cameras. But we are one of the leading agencies in the county to implement our program first, which is incredibly helpful. So this is what I was reading a little bit earlier, 12-hour battery life, and the 146 diagonal field of view is probably the most important thing to take note of on here because as I stated earlier, it's similar to a doorbell camera, so it's not exactly all-encompassing. You go next, Christina. So I'm going to go over the controls. It's incredibly simple. It's a one-touch operation to activate the device, but there's a few other features that are important to mention. So we have a power on and off button. The units themselves are always turned on. They're never turned off unless they're being serviced for hardware issues. During software updates, charging, docking, use, and uploading, the devices are always on. This is probably a little bit more important than the ones that come after this, but there are light indicators on the outside of the device that give the wearer and the person being recorded a visual reference to know that the camera itself is functioning, that it's recording. But something important to notice is that these cameras do not provide an independent ambient light source, similar to a doorbell camera that does provide that that type of lighting. So if you're in an environment that is truly dark, the camera is going to record that environment more accurately than it would if it was providing an ambient light source. So there is no night vision mode, if you want to call it that, on the camera. There are 4 different external microphones that capture all audio, basically at any angle. There is no speaker on this other than a speaker that provides an audible tone to let you know that the camera is recording. Next one, please. I'm sorry, you can go to the next one. And these are, again, those are the camera, the microphones. I apologize. Can you go to the next, Christina? So the visual display that you see here is the only thing that the officers reference to know the battery life if the camera is recording. As I stated earlier, we'll provide an audible tone every 30 seconds, and it does provide a visual blinking on the outside to let the wearer know that the camera is in use. There are features on this camera that allow us to mute all audio sounds and stop the blinking from taking place if we're in a situation where we need to be a little bit more tactical. That's called stealth mode that's on here, but under normal conditions, we will always have an audible tone and we will always have a light that's on the outside of the camera. So the operation of the, you can go to the next one, Christina, I'm sorry. The operation of the device itself is incredibly simple. There is one large button on the outside that we press 2 times to activate the device, and we simply hold it down when we're done, which ends the recording. All the other buttons on the device are supplemental. It adjusts volume, brightness of the display, but for the operation itself, it's just a single button. Here's the next one, please. So this flow chart shows the simplistic nature of how the device works. We basically take them out in the morning. Each officer is assigned a device which they are responsible for. There's several different mounting options the officers have available for operation and for comfort. We make video. The video gets uploaded into our evidence.com account that we have through Axon, and we're able to review that video at any time. Supervisors are able to share that video with other agencies if that's necessary. The officers themselves do have the capability to view their own camera footage. However, only supervisors have the capacity to view all videos that are created. Sorry, can you go to the next one? I think there. So the cameras themselves are always recording. My camera that I'm wearing on my vest now has been recording since I came in here. These are similar to how the cameras in our squad cars function. They're constantly in what's called buffering mode. So they will record continuously, but unless we activate the camera for a recording, every 30 seconds that footage will delete. So in the event a recording takes place, we will have 30 seconds prior to us physically activating that camera. We will not have any audio, but we'll have 30 seconds prior. That's incredibly helpful when we identify a reason that we have to activate our camera. We'll have a little bit of video of what happened just prior to the activation. So as I stated earlier, it's one button, it's a one-touch button to start the recording, and then it's the same button to end the recording. We have a feature in these called adding a marker, and this is incredibly helpful, especially in situations where we generate a very long video. Even routine events as a traffic arrest can yield a video that's 30 minutes in length. And searching through those videos, more importantly for the state's attorney's office, can be very mundane as they have to view a lot of footage that's not really that important or relevant to the arrest. So during the video recording, if we have a reason to add a marker, we can. And what that would be is, for example, during a search of a vehicle, if we locate contraband or an illegal item, we can create a marker. So when we review that video footage later on, we can skip ahead to those occurrences in the video, which helps the report writing process incredibly. Next one, please. So we have what's called a sensor signal function. We have 4 different ways that we activate our camera other than just physically touching the button. What's the next one? And for starters, when we activate our lights inside our squad car, that broadcasts a signal to the body camera and it automatically activates it. It's similar to a Bluetooth function. When that signal is broadcast, it can go anywhere from 30 to 50 feet. In certain circumstances, when you're outside, it can go even longer. So when the squad car lights are activated in an emergency situation, it will automatically activate our body camera. The tasers that we carry, which are also manufactured by Axon, the same company that makes our body cameras, there is a device embedded in the battery of these tasers that detects when we draw it from the holster, which will again automatically cause the camera itself to activate. This way the officer under stressful situations doesn't have to multitask. The simple removal of the taser out of the holster will cause the body camera to come on. Next one, please. And more importantly, although less used, is we have one in our sidearm as well that causes an activation. So anytime a sidearm is taken out of a holster, the same activation is going to take place. There is a sensor that's built in our holster that automatically detects the metal on the gun being removed from the holster, which activates the camera itself. We do have a way to bypass that. Obviously, at the end of the day, when we're securing our equipment in lockers, we can activate those buttons and stop that broadcast from happening. When we do have a signal activation, it broadcasts, like I stated earlier, 30 to 50 feet, and that not only activates the camera of the person who caused that activation, it will activate every camera within range of 30 to 50 feet. So situations where multiple officers have to respond to the scene, as they do, if one person activates the body camera through one of these signals, it will cause all the body cameras to activate as well, so we can unify our footage. We have a feature called Axon Capture and Axon Citizen. Can you go to the next one, please? So what this does is this is a platform for us to condense the way that we collect evidence. Right now, we have a lot of different platforms that we use, cell phone cameras for things that are very minor, and then higher end camera equipment for scenes that are a little bit more serious. There are functions built into these cameras that allow us to replace some of the certain equipment that we use, such as a cell phone or another recording device. If we were going to do a very brief interview in the field, we have an option to do that. And the benefit of using this equipment over something else is it will automatically upload into our servers when we go back to the station. There's no need to plug in a cell phone or upload video that takes place from one of our squad cars. So as I stated earlier, it's a brief presentation. It's a lot more complicated when you get into the administrative portions of how these devices work and how we manage and facilitate evidence. But from an end user perspective, it's a very simple device to use. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you very much. We'll start with Alderman Anderson.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Now that we've had these for a period of time, how often are we wishing we had video that we do not have, and what have we learned that helps us ensure we have the videos that we'd like to have?
So all videos, we have our policies in place where we retain all video. The category or the cause of the video determines how long we retain that video for. For example, our policy states all video has to have a 90-day retention period minimum. And this includes accidental activations, a routine citizen encounter where we discovered maybe there was something civil that we were dealing with, nothing criminal in nature. The more serious the recording becomes, the longer we retain it. For example, even a routine traffic stop, we have a much longer retention period. A felony, we have a statutory requirement to retain that video for no less than 10 years. So all the video that we create, we can also retain and reclassify as training video. So a lot of video that we probably wouldn't have valued in the past is going to have a much more important purpose now.
Have we had any or many instances where we, for some reason, didn't start the video and we wish we had?
So today is actually the first day that we implemented these devices per our policy. We did demo them for several weeks for trial and error prior to our policy coming out, just so officers could kind of get a hands-on experience on how the device is operated. But since we didn't have a policy in place to determine how long we categorize those videos, once we go live, we purged all video prior to.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Ashenor.
How do the patrolmen like the policy? They appreciate the fact that it has their back, that it actually helps the police to record incidents that there may be a question about?
That's a great question. That's probably one of the most common questions that, as the department trainer, that I field. And there's an overwhelming receptive response to the devices because they're intended to protect the citizens, but they inadvertently protect us as well from false accusations. And as the chief stated earlier, it does promote transparency within our agency. And that's become a standard in law enforcement over time. So they're very well recepted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Yes, it was a very interesting presentation. A lot of information. I'm happy that all the police officers have these available to them to protect themselves and also the citizens that they're dealing with. So I appreciate us getting this early in advance of many of the other communities in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Downs.
Yes, I just want to thank you. This was a great presentation. I knew about these cameras, but actually I didn't know very much. So this was great. That's the first thing. I would congratulate our department and all of you on being so proactive. I'm agreeing with Alderman Berry, in doing this early and getting it there. I think I felt really great when the chief and everybody involved just stepped right into this and got it done. So I really appreciate it. My only question is this last page. It says Axon Capture and Citizen, and on the other page, the last item is ability to utilize Axon Citizen. Did you explain that and I just didn't understand it, or I don't know what that means exactly.
So there's two portions to Axon Capture and Axon Citizen. Axon Citizen is an interface that allows citizens to send us video directly through the website that manages and houses our videos. So for example, if we conduct a neighborhood canvass for a car burglary and one of the citizens says, you know what, my doorbell camera actually did capture the suspect walking by. Instead of the burden being on the citizen to figure out a way to make a copy or us having to go and film their phone or film their TV, they can send that video directly to us through evidence.com, which is where all of our videos are classified anyway. So we can compress and compile all the information together. So it kind of streamlines the process of citizens delivering information to us.
Good information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to congratulate the department on getting these rolled out today. It's a great milestone for us, and being 3 years ahead of the legal requirements is great. I know this is something we have been talking about and wanting for years, and we've had some budgetary constraints that made that less feasible earlier, so I'm glad we're able to do it, and I'm glad that the department is embracing it, and it seems to be going so well so far. I hope that you will also keep us updated on how this program goes, how it's received by residents or any people in the community that interact with it, how the police officers feel that the vendor is doing. I know that this is a new contract and a not exactly new industry, but there may end up being competing products over time that we'll want to consider. So I'm sure that the department will keep us apprised about that. Also, I did have one question about one of the last things that you said when you were answering Alderman Anderson's question. You said that during the rollout, there were a lot of test videos or test cameras that were being used, but then once the system began today, those videos were purged. But I thought you had just said that we keep all the videos, so I was just a bit confused.
Yes, you're correct. So we actually received these cameras as in the form of a demo, probably close to 2 months ago. And we received 3 cameras and we cycled them through the department. We allowed some supervisors to use them, day shift officers, night shift officers, traffic enforcement officers, just a variety of officers to take them into the field and demo them just to see how they operate. And the purpose behind the demo wasn't necessarily so the officer can develop a physical comfort for the device. But so when the videos were sent back to the department, we were able to see how we were able to interface with it, the quality of the recordings, how easy it was to send and receive information. So yes, we did create a lot of videos. They were all classified as training videos because since we had no policy in place, we did not utilize them during anything that was classified as an arrest or a major incident. So once the policy took place, that is when all of those videos prior to were purged out.
Okay, so no actual incidents, no evidence that we're losing, just training demos.
Yes, ma'am, all training footage.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. So thanks so much for your presentation. Alderman Krischel.
Yeah, I have no questions. Just thanks for the update and all the info.
Thank you. Alderman Widener.
Yeah, it was a great presentation. I'm glad the officers see it as a useful tool that will end up further protecting them. I know it's a difficult line of service, and adding additional items to the uniform and the all the things that you wear as part of your uniform is amazing, and you undertake a lot of responsibilities for our town, and I appreciate all your efforts and all the officers' efforts with this regard, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
Just thank you very much for that demonstration and letting us know how they really work, when they work, and how they work. So I'm delighted to see that our officers now have this available to them. I think it's a good addition to their equipment and their protection. So thank you again very, very much. And thanks to all of the men in blue for what you do for Warrenville. Congratulations and thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just occurred to me, I did have one other question. If there's an audio tone every 30 seconds, wouldn't that get really annoying over time?
So so we receive an audio tone every 30 seconds while the camera is recording. But the constant reminder likely outweighs the fact that we don't want to forget that it's recording once our interviews or our contacts are finished, and then we're by ourselves making comments to ourselves out loud. So there is a way to silence that in a tactical situation, or if a citizen, if we're in the private home of a citizen, they can request, first of all, they can request the camera to be turned off if it's not a criminal investigation, but they can, if it is annoying, there is a way to silence that. But when the new recording starts, by default, the device would start providing an audio tone again. But the Axon reps that provided our initial training told us that over time, you become so accustomed to the tone that you really don't even notice it after a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of another concern. Then you're more likely to ignore it, the way that people sometimes drive down the road with their blinker going. They probably hear it and just tune it out. So
You're absolutely
I guess it's helpful at first, though, for sure.
Madam Chairman, may I comment?
Please, Mayor.
Thank you. Another reason to be proud of Warrenville Police Department. Chief Toronto has done a terrific job. Our officers have done a terrific job. The sophistication of police work these days is mind-boggling. Just listening to how this system operates and how well everything has been thought of, at least that I could imagine, of all the different circumstances that this could go wrong. It looks like all of that has been thought out, and it looks like a solid system to not only protect the citizens, but protect our officers. I'm so proud of our department being in a leadership position again to implement the state-of-the-art equipment in our community. It's another reason why recently Warrenville again was listed as one of the safest communities in the state, in the top 50 out of several hundred. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of good police work, good leadership by our chief, and good work by our officers. And I'm very proud of what you guys are doing. And Chris, be sure to wear that when we go on our bike patrol next Saturday, okay?
That is correct. I will have it on.
Well, thank you very much, Officer Maxwell, and thank you for the presentation, Chief, and for being here to answer our questions and let the public know what's going on with this. This is an informational only item. We don't need a motion on this, so if there are no further questions, I think we'll move on to item number 4, an update on the strategic plan diversity goal from Assistant City Administrator White.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So in the packet is a memo from me dated September 22nd with some recommended revisions to the objective statements under the diversity goal that was adopted in 2015, along with the rest of the strategic plan. This has been reviewed by the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Commission as well. And these changes are in line with the changes that we made in 2020 to the diversity goal statement to broaden the scope slightly of that statement and to fit more in line with the directives of the IDEC Commission. One thing I do want to point out is that the agenda does list this as an informational item, but I am recommending approval and action on this item if the committee agrees with the revisions proposed for the council to approve at the next meeting. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Administrator. We'll go to Alderman Anderson first.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos.
No questions, but just I think the changes were very relevant to what's happening now and very current. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Alderman Davalos. It looks like the changes were well thought out. Alderman Crucial. Alderman Crucial, are you there? Looks like you just muted yourself.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Widener.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Assistant White for her efforts in leading this group, and I would also like to thank the volunteer group of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity Committee. They're energetic, they're dedicated, and they're very thoughtful in their approach. And I appreciate all their work. It's been a pleasure to be alongside of them while they come up with documents like this and changes and direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Wilson, I think you've just muted yourself.
I'm sorry, I was having some mic problems. My only question is, since this was listed as an informational only, and it seemed like the request was to approve it, is there a problem there?
I don't believe there's any problem there. It's on the agenda, so.
So we're going to take a vote on this rather than just informational.
Yes, that's right. Okay, thank you. With that in mind, I would entertain a motion.
This is Alderman Davalos. I would like to recommend the City Council approve the revised objectives for the 2015 Strategic Plan Diversity Goal.
Second, Alderman Berry.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please, Glenn?
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Crucial.
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Can I ask a clarification? What we said was that the city council approve. We're recommending, since we're the committee, recommending to the city council, correct? Yes. So, Aye.
Alderman Widener, Alderman Widener,
We may have lost him.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay. Yeah, motion carries. We can go back to Bill if we get him again. But let's move on to item number 5. It's the consideration of the diversity statement, and again, Assistant City Administrator White.
Thank you. IDEC is also recommending the city adopt a diversity statement to be published on the city website and various printed materials to provide the community a better understanding of the importance of the issues around inclusion and diversity, equity, and awareness. This is supplemental to the mission, vision, and value statement that was already approved by the city council. So in addition to those statements, we would also have this diversity statement published. One thing to note is the commission has expressed an interest in attending the upcoming fire district open house, which occurs on October 6th. They would like to include this diversity statement on some printed postcards as a handout to the community as a way to introduce the commission and the mission that the city has undertaken with IDEC. So we're asking the committee to authorize staff to move forward with printing those postcards in advance of final council approval on Monday so that we can have some time to get those cards printed. The cost of the cards is approximately $400, and that includes an English and a Spanish version. And that those funds are budgeted in the 2022 fiscal year budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Alderman Anderson.
No questions?
Alderman Ashour.
No questions.
Alderman Berry.
No questions.
Alderman Davalos.
I have no questions either. Thank you.
I have nothing. Alderman Marshall.
No questions for me either.
Alderman Widener, do we have you back?
Yes, I'm sorry about the phone call got dropped. I'm back. If it's not too late, I support the last motion and would have voted aye. And I support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Alderman Wilson.
No comment.
All right.
May I, Madam Chairman, may I?
Please, ma'am.
I wanted to thank IDEC and Christina for all of this, I guess, wordsmithing and making things more clear, making things that are more general and easy to understand in terms of goals and ideals. I'm very, very pleased with the startup of IDEC. You've done a great job of showing that you're taking your job very, very seriously, and this is important to you. That means it's going to be easier for us to accept that it's important for the community and to move forward with future recommendations. Christina and IDEC, thank you so much. Well done.
Agreed. Thank you. And I would entertain a motion.
This is Alderman Davalos. I would like to recommend the City Council approve the diversity statement as recommended by the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Commission.
Alderman Widener seconds.
Thank you. Does any change need to be made to the motion to specifically authorize staff to spend the $400?
Alderman, sorry, Administrator Coakley, I would just say that we don't need authorization for the spending. We just want to make sure that you're all aware of that. And if there's unanimous support of the statement, then they'll take that as direction to go ahead and print those cards up. The main thing is we don't want to have them printed up and then find out the council had objections to it next week at the council meeting.
Okay, gotcha. Then in that case, clerk, can we have a roll call?
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Kerschel,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go to item number 6, which is the consideration of the long-range financial planning work group recommendations for financial advisor services. We already moved up item 2, so Marchetti available for that, but this is the rest of the work group recommendations, and to describe that, we will go to Finance Director Dahlstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Earlier this year, the city issued a request for proposal for financial advisors services to assist the city in determining the best funding mechanisms that we could use to fund the infrastructure improvements that are necessary due to the redevelopment going on in District Number 4. We received 5 responses to our RFP. The long-range financial planning work group met, called through those 5 responses and whittled it down to 3 firms. On Friday, September 10th, we conducted a full day of interviews with those 3 firms. The 3 firms listed were PMA, Robert W. Baird, and Spear Financial. As a result of that day of interviews, the long-range financial planning work group is recommending that Spear Financial be the firm that we negotiate a professional services agreement with to assist the city in financial advisory services to help us determine the correct funding. Included in your backup was the presentation that was presented by Spear on the 10th. And there was also then 2 examples that we requested from Spear, which were estimates of the potential costs of the issuance allocation of bond proceeds for both a negotiated sale as well as a competitive sale. So at this point, we are recommending Spear Financial, and that staff be directed to work with the attorney to reach a professional services agreement with Spear Financial, and they have that presented at the October 4th City Council agenda.
Thank you very much, Finance Director Dahlstrom. Let's give everyone a chance for questions and comments. We'll start with Alderman Anderson.
Yeah, no questions.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
I have no.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos.
I have no questions, but I was very impressed with the qualifications and the experience of the Spear Financial. That's all.
Thank you. I agree. I think all of the firms that we interviewed were impressive and probably would have given us good advice. Spear Financial certainly came across as people we think we'd like to work with. They were able to explain difficult concepts clearly, which we know that the City Council and our residents will appreciate. And I think they seem extremely qualified. So that was the basis for our group's recommendation. Let's go ahead to Alderman Criswell.
I have no question. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Widener.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson.
I have no questions.
Yes, and thank you for your help on this committee, Alderman Wilson. I would entertain a motion.
Alderman Davalos, I move to accept the recommendation from the Long Range Financial Planning Work Group and recommend the City Council direct staff to negotiate a professional services agreement with Spear Financial to serve in the capacity of financial advisors for the City of Warrenville.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please, clerk?
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 7, which is an informational update on the status of the ERP implementation. And this will be Assistant City Administrator White and Finance Director Dahlstrom.
Thank you. I am going to start and then Kevin will correct and jump in wherever needed. So the purpose of this update is just to provide the committee with an overview of where we are with the project, the areas that are complete, and what is left to complete. So you might recall that the project we refer to typically as the ERP is really two different components or parts. There's the core Dynamics 365, which is essentially finance, accounting, and human resources functionality. And then the Mazik City piece, which includes all of the community development components, public works, and the citizen services aspects. So the left column here are all the items that are completed. With the core portion of D365. The 4 items that have an asterisk next to it are live, but there are still some issues that we're working through with general ledger, payroll, purchasing, and Mazik cashiering. The issues are not exactly the same with all. We just have to continue to tweak some of these items in support and work through some of the remaining issues. Purchasing is slightly different because we as staff decided to put that on the back burner while we worked and focused on other aspects. So it is live, it's ready to roll out, but there's some training with staff required and some policy changes that need to be worked through that Kevin and I will eventually get to, but we need to focus on rolling out the remaining portions of the project. The right column are the remaining to be completed items. Most notably the utility billing piece, which is a significant portion. Not that any of these pieces are not significant, but that is a community impact item. So that has a lot of work remaining to be done. And we'll talk more about that as we get through the slides. So Mazik City, again, is the community development public works piece and the citizen portal portion. We've completed the core components, permits, licensing, planning, and zoning. All are live. Core components is what we've sort of referred to as the framework of Mazik City. It's things like setting up account structures and contacts within the software, the web portal. Planning and zoning is complete, but again has an asterisk next to it. We had some turnover in the community development department staff that put fully rolling out this portion of the project on hold until we could get additional staff resources reallocated to focusing on testing and making sure that everything is working the way that it's supposed to. Again, the items on the right are the ones that remain to be completed. The one I'll call your attention to again is the citizen portal. Staff is taking a very measured, slow approach to rolling out the citizen portal because we want to make sure it works as intended and that it's been tested adequately by staff, that it's efficient and works as simple and straightforward as can possibly be coordinated for the end user, which would be our customers and our residents and businesses. We will probably do a phased rollout of the citizen portal. And what I mean by that is having staff entering and testing information, then select some key stakeholders, if you will, maybe some local businesses, plan commission members, people like that have interaction regularly with the city to be sort of a test group to continue helping us test and make sure it works properly before we roll it out across the entire community. Again, because there's a huge impact to that. And with staff resources being what they are, it would be difficult to take in hundreds or thousands of issues, questions, concerns all at the same time if things aren't working quite the way they're supposed to. So the completion target date for this project, we had hoped to be done by April, end of April of 21, which was the end of our fiscal year. Again, because of a variety of reasons, both turnover on the Mazik team again and turnover within the city staff and competing priorities and projects. There's been some additional delays. We are very, very close on the core Dynamics 365 implementation being finished and wrapped up. So that is anticipated to be done by the end of this calendar year. Utility billing at this point is on hold to a degree because the Mazik resource that was developing and coordinating utility billing left Mazik. They have since spoken to us about a plan to move forward, and they have a timeline and some additional details that they're working through with Kevin and I. We would like to vet that plan a little bit further and make sure it's realistic with all the other, again, parts of this project and staff time available to make sure that that timeline is a reasonable and attainable timeline to get utility billing rolled out. And before I open it up to questions, I just want to ask Finance Director Dahlstrand if he has anything to add that I may have missed.
No, I just wanted to add a little bit more on the utility billing side of this. That is an extremely intricate part of what we're doing. If you recall, originally the utility billing was not part of this plan, and it was the Mazik team that recommended to us that they would be able to do that for us and build that in as an integral part of the system. As Christina mentioned, their main resource on that did leave. They had some difficulties on their side for finding a replacement resource to work on this because it does require a lot of knowledge to program and make this work correctly. All of the information that they need, or at least the vast majority of the information that they need to do this, has all been conveyed to them. I actually will be having a meeting with them tomorrow to go back over the requirements to make sure that what the resources they have in place now, so that they know that what they have, that they understand how it's supposed to work and what we're expecting from them. And I will also be having a follow-up meeting with them again next week so we can go back over that to make sure that they are working toward the correct goal. So there is still a lot of work to be done on utility billing. And there'll be a lot more happening with that in the next few weeks.
Okay, let's move forward with questions. Alderman Anderson.
Thank you for the update. Curious, when we think about this engagement, do we have any concerns about the operational budget and implementation budget as this is had to be prolonged?
I will turn the details of that over to Kevin, but I will say when we negotiated this contract, it was a milestone-based payment schedule. So the costs are associated with deliverables. It is not an hourly based type of contract. So in terms of cost to Mazik to implement this, that shouldn't change and hasn't changed. Depends on how you view the cost of staff time and some of the other resources involved. But again, I'll let Kevin explain more of the nuts and bolts.
She actually did a very good job of explaining that we do have a set price on this contract. So the additional work at this point by the Mazik team does not add any additional cost to what we're doing. But as she said, there is a considerable cost on our side for the staff time involved in this, but there's no extra dollars for them in this at this point.
Gotcha. Thank you. No questions. No further questions.
Alderman Ashour.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Berry.
Well, I'm disappointed that this is taking so long. I feel sorry for the staff that they have to go through all this. I'm happy that we negotiated the contract the way it was negotiated, so we're not paying anything extra for them, but it's the staff time that is an issue. But as long as we're getting everything done. I know it hasn't been easy, and I appreciate all that Kevin and Christina, you have both done on this project. This has been an overwhelming project. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Tablas.
Yes, I will reiterate Alderman Barry's comments. Mostly just to be very grateful for Christina and Kevin and all the staff actually that's worked on this. This is huge. And I just thank you very, very much. And let's hope they can get these deliverables by the end of the year. Thank you.
Yes. I guess my only comment is a general sense of frustration, which I know staff shares. We had hoped that these service providers would provide us with better service. I think that's all I really would say. Alderman Christian.
No questions. My only comment would be that, I'm a little disappointed as well. You pay a lot of money for service, and what happens on their end is not, I guess our problem. So it's just kind of frustrating. That's all.
Thank you very much. Alderman Wyman.
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thanks. Alderman Wilson.
Disappointed that it's taking so long, in the sense of there's been problems that come up on both sides of the table, I suspect. But this is an extremely important thing that we're looking at here. And I appreciate the fact that it's taken a little bit longer, but it is something that we really need to do so far as the operation of our city. So I think that we had to bite the bullet and spend the time and effort, and congratulations to our staff that they're able to stay with it. But we need this done. We need it done right, and I think it will be. So thanks again for all your effort from the staff.
Thank you. And this is only an informational item. So unless staff has any more on this, I think we will move on to item 8, the fiscal year 2022, September 2021 financial update. Finance Director Dahlstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've included a financial update in the backup tonight, which is up through the activity through the month of August. The first 17 pages are the narrative of this. I've included two different types of graphs in here. The one is the 12-month rolling average that you used to seeing. All these have been converted to a cash basis, so it gets into almost a little more real-time reporting. And I also included a bar graph for each of these sources. I thought it was kind of interesting to show the actual receipts month by month, and you can see that in most cases we do have a trend upward on all of those. Particular importance, if you look at page 2 of 17, the graph at the bottom is the state shared sales tax revenue. And as you can see, that is on the climb here as well. Through the receipt that we received in August was a little over 228,000. I do know that when we make our next report, the amount we received in September was a little over 239,000, which is almost the highest amount that we received over the last 10 years or so. The high before that was 241,600. So I think it's really important here to see that the majority of these graphs are on the upswing. They are surpassing where we were a year ago. Now, in most cases, that wouldn't be hard, considering how hard we were hit by COVID. But it is nice to see that those are recovering. In most cases, we have begun to surpass where we were a year ago. It's particularly important also when we look at food and beverage tax, which is on page 7, the graph there, we are recovering very, very well. When you look back as far as, say, April of 2020, that monthly amount we received was a little over $8,400 per month, which is extremely low, as we know how hard all our restaurants were hit. We get back all the way into August of this year, and we're back a little over $48,000 per month. Now, we're certainly not all the way back to where we were, but again, it's making a nice recovery as our restaurants we're working their way back out of the hole that they were in. The one that I think is particularly stark is if you look on page 10, it shows the amusement tax revenue in the new bar graph that I provided. And if you look right in the middle of that graph, you can actually see where there were months of zero revenue. That's extremely hard to see. We all know why that occurred with the closure of the entertainment venues. And as you look on the right-hand side of that graph, we are starting to work our way back upwards again. There is a considerable ways to go for the sources who are providing that amusement tax. But again, the last 6 months have been on the increase. And we are back up now to about 2/3 of where we were before. It's got a long ways to go, but I thought that was an important great graph to see exactly how hard we were hit in the amusement tax area. Of particular importance to the CMRP are both the electric utility tax and the natural gas taxes. As you can see with the electric utility tax, there's not a whole lot of change in that month to month. It's a pretty stable source of revenue in the CMRP. If you look then also at the natural gas tax, which you can see on page 12, there's sort of a rhythm to that. You would expect that as we get into the colder months, that there's a higher receipt of those, and you can certainly see that in that graph as you have a dip in the middle, which is our warmer months, and then as you get back into the colder months, it begins to rise again as well. One more I want to point out related to the CMRP is the local motor fuel tax. It's been fairly stable even through the COVID. There were a few lower months. Obviously, when you look back to May of 2020, there's a very low month in there. But I will also point out that has begun to grow is because the addition of Thornton's, which I've mentioned a number of times over the months, has been a huge boon to this and is really helping that revenue source recover to help that CMRP. And as you can see right now, it's functioning at about 10 grand more per month than it was a year ago. So that's been a nice recovery for that fund as well. And then on page 17, as we discussed earlier tonight, the hotel tax took a very significant hit. When you look back into May of 2020, the amount we received in that month was a little over $2,900. You compare that to where we received in November of 19, which was a little over 84,000. So it was obviously a very significant hit to that. Again, it's not anything we did not know, but it kind of makes a very stark appearance when you see it in this graph. As you look into August of this year, we are back at about 67,000. So we are, pretty close to returning to where we were. But as Beth Marchetti indicated, we do have a ways to go before that actually recovers all the way. And she even indicated it could be into 2024 before we see that full recovery. And then the final place I thought I would have you look would actually be page 18 of the report. It's the local economic indicators, again, that is presented on a cash basis, and almost every revenue source we have in there, with the exception of the use tax, which is remitted to us by the state. That's down about 7.8% through August. And the telecom tax is down less than 0.5% at this point. That's really not a significant change in that revenue source. So overall, we're making a recovery. We do have a ways to go. The expenditure side of most funds is doing well also. I noted the general fund right now is operating through August at about a $2 million surplus. However, as I noted there, we do have some outstanding union contracts being negotiated, which will have an effect on that. And also that positive variance is affected by the fact that we do receive a big chunk of our property tax revenue in June. And then again, that'll happen in September. So that's not a month thing. So we won't receive that every month. So that inflates a little bit our positive variance right now. But overall, we're doing very well and we're starting to make our comeback.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Kevin. I think that we really appreciate getting this level of detail and getting an insight into the situation of the revenues and the recovery. I personally appreciate it very much. So let's start with Alderman Anderson.
Thank you. Everybody likes a comeback story. Kevin, nice to see some encouraging signs in the financials. I guess one question as you go into your last section of the financial update, I assume realized is the percent of that realized budget, whether it's revenue or expense, against the annual budget that we've gotten year to date within these through 8/31. And I'm just wondering, in expected, are those straight lines, or does that actually incorporate knowledge that you have within the budget of when things would be spent? So we really can pretty cleanly compare realized to expected, and it looks like most of these are ahead of plan or behind on expenses. So positive in both directions.
The majority of them are done on a straight line expectation based on budget year. As we get into the new ERP, it's my goal that we will be able to more fine tune the expected numbers based on the projections of when that cash would flow into here. But right now we don't have the ability to do that very well at this point. So our only option right now is to look at it on a straight line method.
Okay. Thank you. No other comments or questions?
Thank you. But I think there are a couple of things, as Kevin described about, property taxes and when we get those annually that are put in when they're expected in a little bit more detail. So unless I'm misunderstanding that, there are a few things that where the expected is not done on a straight line, right, Kevin? No.
I'm sorry, was that a question? I didn't catch the end of it. If you did, I'm sorry.
I just wanted you to confirm if that's correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Alderman Ashour.
Thanks for the great report. The detail is all very helpful.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
I agree. The report is great. It's nice to see some of these things changing in a positive direction, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Yes, Alderman Zells.
Very impressed also, and loving the bar graphs in addition to everything else. So thanks for all the effort in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, I was gonna call out page 2 as well as a positive sign, but you already did that for me. I think a few of these are a little bit less clear how much the recovery is going and whether it's continuing to trend in that direction. I know some of the news headlines I've seen lately have to do with quite recent signs of maybe not quite as much recovery, but it's harder to see the long-term trend when you don't have, years worth of data to go with. So I just wondered what your own perception was. Is the new Delta wave causing any particular areas to reverse? I was looking at a couple of things where I thought that might have been the case, and I really don't see that in the data here, but I wondered what you thought.
So I don't foresee a long-term effect right now. It's a little hard to tell as the Delta variant stays in place. I am strongly encouraged by the sales tax, which I noted earlier. My area of concern would continue to be both the two areas that were affected largely during the initial phase, which would be the food and beverage tax, as well as the hotel tax. That's certainly two areas that I mentioned before that were heavily affected. And so far, I haven't seen anything that indicates that the recovery is going to be hit again, although there's certainly no way to tell that for sure as the state does more and more things to put restrictions in place. The other area I would be concerned with, again, is the amusement tax, and these are obvious, but they're also the areas that I kind of lose the most sleep over, because there are areas that were hit worse and there's going to have a harder time recovering. And I think the amusement tax will remain one of those areas that's going to be a little harder to see a long-term recovery on. As the theater opened back up and people started to go out, I still don't think that they're going out in the ways they were before. So I think there's a ways to go on those, and I will remain concerned on those for a considerable amount of time.
Yes, completely agree. I mean, I think when you look at the rolling average on the food and beverage tax, we're almost back to where we were a year ago, which was still very far down from our normal numbers. And I wonder if some of this might be, a summer bump as people do a little bit of outdoor dining. I know we've tried to help and to encourage some of the restaurants in town have spaces for outdoor dining, and I wondered if that continues to be something they are interested in or want to take advantage of, or that will continue as the weather remains favorable into the late fall and early winter.
I have not heard anything specific on that, but I will certainly touch base with the community development department, as they would actually be the ones who would hear that before I would. So I will make sure that I reach out to them and see if there's any if there's been any talk about how that affects businesses, and also then how it affects the hospitality work group. They might have some insight into that as well.
Okay. And yes, on the amusement tax, I know for my husband's birthday last month, we went to a movie at the Cantera movie theater. And his birthday was Wednesday. We took the day off, so we were able to go to a matinee. And we had the entire theater to ourselves. It was like we had rented out a space for 200 just for his birthday for the four of us to watch a movie together. And even though I know that's not very good for our amusement tax revenue, it certainly made us feel very safe in terms of COVID. I wish you could take off more Wednesdays so I could go and see a few of the movies that are out. That would be nice. And I hope that people in our community are finding ways to take advantage of our outdoor spaces. And I am a little worried whether some of the food and beverage sales might go down in the winter if indoor restrictions continue and COVID continues to spread. But I'm hopeful. I think the COVID numbers are trending in the right direction. Excuse me? Okay, that's all from me. Let's move on to Alderman Krischel.
Thanks. No, I think it's all very encouraging. And Kevin, thanks for putting it all together, and the detail in here is excellent. So thanks again.
Thank you, Alderman Weidner.
Thank you, Director Dahlstrand and the Finance Department for assembling such a fantastic report. It's good to see some optimism occurring in the report, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and your staff for putting together a fantastic report. And that's what it is. It's a report of what is existing. We may wish that we're different, and we look forward to improvements, but these are the facts and the figures that we have to live with today. So thank you for the presentation. It was great with those graphs. So easy to see that we are on the growth back, and we can do what we can to try to increase that. But so much of it depends upon other individuals, other circumstances. But this report shows that we are on the way back, and we should be optimistic in knowing that it will not be long before we're back to where we were at the very top. Thank you again for all of your efforts.
Thank you, and that concludes item 8, which again is for informational purposes only. We move on to item 9, the consideration of the fiscal year 2023 budget preparation and adoption timeline. Finance Director Dahlstrand.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As much as I hate to discuss this because it seems like we just finished, we do need to discuss the budget adoption timeline for our fiscal 2023 budget. That is the calendar of events and the timeline has been included in your backup. The significant date that I want to make sure we point out now is that these annual City Council budget workshop is proposed for Saturday, March 12th, 2022, again, beginning at 9 a.m., going until noon. So we would like to make sure that we make you aware of that. The departmental presentations will begin in February and will continue on into March. And then there's also, I want to make sure that you are aware of the opportunity between March 7th and March 18th for individual elected officials to meet with the city administrator and myself to go over any of the items that will be in the budget. The budget is slated to be distributed on Monday, February 28th. So you will have an opportunity to meet with the administrator and myself to go over anything in there and ask any specific questions, both before and after that budget workshop.
Thank you. Alderman Anderson.
No questions. Looks good.
Thank you. Alderman Ashow.
Thanks again for your efforts preparing this. No other questions.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Zappos.
No, I don't have any questions either. I'm just wondering, the first two dates are sort of backwards. Is that okay? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just if you're a left-brain person like me, you want to see it. I'm
no,
just
I should have had them in the opposite order. You're correct.
Okay, well, I just didn't, there could be a reason.
No, there isn't.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, good point. My only note was that listening to the Administration and Public Works departmental presentations on Valentine's Day is just how we all wanted to spend our Valentine's Day evening, I'm sure. So, thank you. And Alderman Grisham.
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Weidner.
I have no questions or comments either. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
I love to see the schedule for next year. We get to do this all over again. So I look forward to it. Have a good night.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
This is Alderman Davalos again. Here we go. Sorry. I'd like to recommend the City Council approve fiscal 2023 budget preparation and adoption timeline as presented, including a City Council budget workshop on Saturday, March 12th, 2022.
Second.
Second by Alderman Wilson. Can I have a roll call, please, clerk?
Alderman Crucial,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Weidner,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 10, the calendar year 2022 meeting schedule. Consideration. Yes, Deputy Clerk Burbetti.
Yes, the 2022 City Council and Committee of the Whole meeting schedule is presented. If you have any questions, please let me know. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Okay. Alderman Anderson.
No questions.
Alderman Ashour.
No questions.
Alderman Berry.
Well, I spoke to John Coakley several months ago, and I don't know if he remembers the conversation, but in October, the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting is on October 10th, and I will be out of town. And my backup is Alderman Davalos, and Alderman Davalos will also be out of town with me. This is the third time that our vacation has been rescheduled. We might not even go in October. You never know. But he recommended that if it would be possible for the Public Works and possibly Public Safety to switch dates, and that would be up to Alderman Goodman. So as long as that is okay with her, I would be willing to do that.
It's fine with me. I think it would be about, looks like a little over 2 weeks after the most recent Public Safety and Finance Committee meetings. We may not have very much to do, but I'm sure you guys would all be devastated if these Public Works or Public Safety Committee meetings were really short. So
yeah, as long as we could switch those two, that would be fine with me. And John, is that still a possibility?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize. I now remember that conversation, Alderman Berry, and I said I would work with Alderman Goodman, and hopefully it's okay. I forgot all about it. My apologies. I know I have a note somewhere in my office buried in a pile of Post-it notes about it. I think that all works as long as we get it published correctly and the two chairs are good with it. The staff will work around it.
Okay.
I see our finance director.
Okay, so we would be switching the September 26th meeting with the October 10th meeting?
Correct.
Okay. Whoever makes the motion, please remember to mention that. Alderman Davalos.
Do I have any questions? No, I'm
Yes.
fine. I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. No questions from me. Alderman Crucial.
No questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Weidner.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Alderman Wilson.
No questions.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
This is Alderman. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Alderman Berry. You'll do it better than I will.
We'll see. I'd like to make a motion to recommend the City Council approve the calendar year 2020 City Council and Committee of the Whole meeting schedule with the exception of October, Public Works and Infrastructure on October 10th being moved to September 26th, and the Public Safety being moved to October 10th.
Second, Alderman Davalos.
Thank you. Clerk, do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll have a roll call, please.
Thank you.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Weidner.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
My goodness.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 10, the consideration of the calendar year 2022. The consideration of the city holiday schedule for calendar year 2022. Deputy Clerk Corvetti.
Okay, the holiday schedule is also presented in your packet. The only note I'd like to make is that the New Year's Day 2022 observance is actually on it's on December 31st, 2021. That was already approved with last year's calendar. It's just on here to note that the holiday is actually a 2022 holiday, but it was or will be observed in 2021. So if there are any questions, I'll be here to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on the council? Please ask now to be acknowledged. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Alderman Davalos, I'd like to recommend the City Council approve the 2022 city holiday schedule.
Second.
Alderman Weidner, second.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please, Clerk?
Who was our second?
I think it was Alderman Anderson.
Okay, Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Weidner.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This is the time that we set aside for an informational update on our administration, finance, and police department fiscal year 2022 work plans and decision packages. Again, if anyone has any comments or questions on any of those items, please speak up and you'll be acknowledged. Okay, hearing none. We will move on to item G, our commendations. Chief?
Thank you, Chairman. We have one here for CSO Gansberg, where she recovered a stolen wallet that a lady reported missing and got that back to her. Also one for Officer Cassandra McCurris, who worked as a part of Merit on a very serious traffic crash in Bartlett, where she did a reconstruction. One were Sergeant Wittenberg as a crisis negotiation person, assisted Bartlett with a emotionally disturbed person as part of the Merit crisis negotiation team, and where Detective Cat in Hanover Park assisted with the homicide investigation of a 59-year-old man as part of the Merit investigation team, and that case was closed with an arrest. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Chief. And we want to pass on our thanks to the officers as well. Unless there are any other comments or questions, all I need is a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second, Alderman Ashour.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Anderson?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Krischel?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night, all. Thank you.